They thought they were just taking a random detour break from the usual grind. But as the sun began to set and the road twisted in ways it shouldn't have, they knew something was off. A town appeared out of nowhere, no sign, no map, just there. But the strangest part? It wasn't on any map. And as soon as they stepped inside, they realized something wasn't right. It started like any other road trip. Jake, Sarah, Luke, and Emma, 4 friends looking for a little adventure. They were tired of the city, tired of the daily grind. So they jumped in the car, eager to find something new. They weren't expecting much, just some scenic views, maybe a quirky roadside attraction or two. The day had been long, endless, winding roads, and they were all ready for a stop. That's when they saw it. The road ahead seemed to end, at least. It looked like it. A faded sign barely visible through the trees read, "Welcome to Hillcrest." But none of them had heard of it before. No one had ever mentioned this place. "Google it," Sarah said, pulling out her phone. Nothing. No Wi-Fi. No pin on the map. "What the hell?" Emma muttered, squinting at the blank screen. "Maybe it's just a ghost town," Luke joked, but his usual carefree tone was missing. Something about this place didn't sit right. They drove into the town, passing quiet streets lined with old houses. It wasn't run down, just forgotten. Like no one had bothered to update it in years, maybe decades. The air felt different, too thick and still, like it was holding something back. They parked and got out. The town was too quiet, too still. No cars and driveways, no people walking around. The houses, although in decent shape, looked like they'd been frozen in time, like they hadn't been touched in ages. The grass was freshly cut, but there was no sign of life. They started walking down the street, and that's when they saw him. An old man sitting on the porch of a house. He waved slowly, too slowly. It wasn't a normal wave, it was like he knew something they didn't. "Hey there," Sarah called out, trying to be friendly. But the man didn't speak. He just stared at them, his eyes intense, making the hairs on the back of Sarah's neck stand up. They kept walking, trying to shake off the weird feeling, but it only grew stronger. At the next corner, they noticed something odd. A strange symbol scratched into a mailbox. It wasn't graffiti, just a mark, something ancient looking. They couldn't make sense of it, but it didn't feel right. "I don't know, guys," Luke said, his voice quieter now. "Something about this place is weird." But they kept moving forward, curiosity pushing them along. They passed another house, its windows dark, no one inside. But as they looked closer, they saw something through the window, a pair of eyes staring back at them. But when they knocked, no one answered. They kept going. Eventually, they found a diner at the end of the street. The neon sign above buzzed faintly, like it had been on for too long. They pushed open the door, and the bell above it jingled loudly. The waitress behind the counter didn't smile. She just stared at them like she'd been waiting. "Y'all lost or something?" she asked, her voice flat. "We're just passing through," Sarah said, trying to act casual, though her stomach was turning. "Right," the waitress said, setting down a coffee pot. No food, no menu. The silence in the diner was suffocating. They sat in a booth, but the moment they did, the air seemed to grow heavier. The lights flickered above them, and they all felt it a sensation, like the room itself was holding its breath. Luke stood up to stretch his legs. He glanced toward the back of the diner, where a low murmur of voices seemed to echo from the kitchen. He turned the corner to check it out, but froze. Behind the kitchen door, two eyes were watching him reflected in the glass. There was no one there, but those eyes didn't blink. He backed away, his heart racing, and quickly returned to the booth. "Guys, we need to go. Now." But as they tried to leave, something strange happened. The door slammed shut behind them. They jumped, spinning around, expecting to see someone standing there. But the diner was empty. That's when they heard it, a whisper. So faint they almost missed it. "You're not supposed to be here." They turned, eyes wide, but the diner was still empty. The air was thick, stale. It felt like they were no longer welcome. They bolted out of the diner and rushed back to their car. Their hearts were pounding in their chests, and they could barely breathe. But when they turned the key to start the engine, nothing happened. The car wouldn't start. Panic set in as they tried over and over, but the engine stayed silent. Then, without warning, the roads around them started to shift. The town wasn't where it should have been anymore. They tried to drive out, but no matter how many turns they took, they found themselves back at the same diner, the same street, the same eerie silence. The next morning, they woke up in their car, the sun shining brightly. But when they looked around, Hillcrest was gone. No town, no road, just trees. Empty land. There was only one thing left behind, a crumpled piece of paper with their faces on a missing persons poster. And no one knew if they ever truly left.